Well, hello and welcome to our webinar. This will be on elder law issues. My name is John Watts. I'm an attorney in Alabama, and I help families all across the state deal with Medicaid, Alabama Medicaid, VA pension, and other elder law issues. And generally, when we're talking about elder law issues, we're talking about how do we pay for long-term care without losing everything that we own. So mom or dad going to the nursing home, do we lose everything? Do we have to sell the house? Or can we preserve some of that? And can we plan ahead of time so that we can preserve? And we've got about 5 questions we're going to answer today. Today is August 14th. We'll do this again on the 21st. So if you have questions, feel free to put a comment below. You can go to our elder law site. It's called alabamaelderlawyer.com. Or you can even call us, 205-879-2447, and ask to speak to Carolyn and let her know what your question is. So I believe all of our questions have to do with Medicaid today. I'm sure next week we'll have some on the VA pension. First one is, my mom wants to give me money to buy a house, but if she needs a nursing home within 5 years, Medicaid will take my house, right? This doesn't seem fair, as this is really an advance on my inheritance. So a couple issues. Let's talk first of all about this 5-year, because this question does reference the 5 years. So if we apply for Medicaid right now, August 2015, and we qualify, then Medicaid looks back in time 5 years. And what are they looking for? They're looking for any type of gift. Well, what did they do if they find a gift? Then here we are in August 2015. They've looked back 5 years. They then will penalize us going forward and say, hey, you have to pay for your own nursing home care. Let's say Medicaid picks up the cost of a nursing home. And so the penalty is, no, you got to pay it all yourself. Now, even when Medicaid pays it, generally, not always, but generally, our income is going to be required. Whoever's actually in the nursing home, they'll have to use their own income. And then Medicaid pays that difference. So we have $1,000 a month in income, nursing home $6,000, then Medicaid is going to be paying $5,000 a month. But we apply now and we qualify, they look back, see a gift, then they're going to penalize us going forward. So the question is, if my mom gives me money to buy a house, will Medicaid take the house? Well, let's pick a number. Let's say it's $58,000 that she gives you to buy a house. So she qualifies and she applies right now. And in our last webinar, we talked, I believe, a good bit about that. You know, when do you apply? When is it appropriate? When is it smart to apply? But they look back in 5 years and see that $58,000. Well, what's the penalty going forward? Well, it's that amount, 58,000 divided by 5,800. And that's the idea, the concept is that's the cost of a nursing home in Alabama. So that would be 10, if my math is right. So 10 months going forward, your mother would have to pay for her own nursing home care, even though she's really broke because she qualifies for Medicaid. So do they take your house? Well, no, they don't take your house, but they're going to penalize your mother and make her pay for the next 10 months. Now, if there are other gifts in that 5-year period, then that penalty would be longer. Now, one way to get around that penalty is if the gift is returned. So you could always give the money back to your mom. Now, if you don't have the money, are they going to take your house? No, they'll just penalize your mother. So it's not illegal to give away assets in the previous 5 years from when you need Medicaid. It just means there's going to be a penalty going forward. So what's the lesson? Well, the lesson is anytime somebody who even remotely could need a nursing home, anytime they're giving away assets, could be money, could be a house, could be a car, a boat, whatever it is, they need to have a plan. Say, okay, I'm giving this away, but what happens if I need the nursing home? What happens if I need to get on Medicaid? Do I have enough money to pay for this? Have I made arrangements? Maybe I have a long-term care insurance. Maybe I have a Medicaid compliant annuity. What is my plan? Have I set up a trust that will work for me? And we see families get in trouble when they don't have a plan. Okay, because we don't always have the money to give back. And if it's been used to buy a house, maybe you can get a loan on the house, maybe you can't, but there may be no money to give back to mom. Well, that's going to make it really painful when she's got to privately pay for a nursing home, even though she qualifies for Medicaid, which means her assets have been reduced significantly. So got to make sure you have a plan. If you find yourself in this position, like the person that wrote this question, then you've just got to sit down with the lawyer who understands Medicaid in your state and say, okay, what do we do now? We can usually fix things. And I wish people would come to me ahead of time, but usually they call my firm when mom is in the nursing home now. What do we do? Or they wait till they run out of money. Now what do we do? So it's better if you can have time to plan it. But even if you don't, even if it's a crisis situation, usually we can still make that work. So hopefully that answers that question. Our next question is, my mom is in a nursing home and needs Medicaid. 6 years ago, she set up some type of trust and is receiving dividends and interest from the trust investments. Should we turn those off? And does she have to report this to Medicaid? I assume by this, either the income or the trust itself. Well, it's 6 years. So that's good. That's beyond that 5-year point. But that's only going to do us good if it's the right type of trust. See, if it's a revocable trust, and let me get my little trust here, treasure chest, a revocable trust, the lid is open. So 6 years ago, she put all these investments in. Well, Medicaid says this is still her money. So she has to use all that. That's what's called an available resource. But if it's the right type of Medicaid compliant trust, a particular type of irrevocable trust, then the lid is shut. And that is not her money anymore. So since that's beyond the 5 years, Medicaid would not know about that. But here's the problem. The fact that this trust is giving her income or dividends, then at a minimum, Medicaid's going to say, well, she at least has that as income, and she's got to continue to use that. You can't just turn that off when she needs Medicaid, because either it's her income or it's not. And if it's her income, then we've got to count it just like Social Security, a retirement, pension type income, annuities, whatever the situation may be, that'll be counted. And sometimes what Medicaid does is they say, well, wait a minute. If she can get this income, then we think she really still has control over these assets. Now, we have to look very carefully at the trust agreement. What does it say? Who are the trustees? What does it allow? Generally, when we do these types of trust, we do not have any income going back to mom or dad. Because my concern is, whether it's right or wrong for Medicaid to do this, if they see any income coming, then they're going to try to reach into that trust and grab everything and say, hey, mom, that's all your money. So the 6 years is good, but we have to know what type of trust. And I think at a minimum, we're going to have to continue to count that income unless there's a legitimate reason not to. So our next question, and this is a very common question. Matter of fact, at church, I was just speaking with the CPA about this very issue. CPA said I can give away $14,000 a year to my kids and my grandkids. Will Medicaid follow the tax laws on this? Because a CPA can very legitimately, it's completely accurate thing, say, look, you can give away a certain amount of money to a person. This year it's $14,000, and you don't pay any taxes on that. And what they mean is you don't pay any gift taxes on that. And so you can just do that, and there's no problem. And that's true. So what the CPA said is absolutely correct. The question comes up, let's say that we're giving away $14,000 a year to 3 kids. So that's what, 52 grand a year, 42 grand, whatever the math is on that. I guess it'd be 42 grand. And so we're giving away that much every year. We've been doing that for 5 years. So what's that, like $210,000 or whatever it is. So then we've been doing that, and then we apply for Medicaid and we qualify. Well, they're going to look back 5 years and they're going to see all that money given away. And families really struggle with this. And I understand, because it gets confusing. They go, wait a minute. The federal government said I can give away $14,000 a year. That's true under tax law. And so the question was, will Medicaid follow the tax laws? Well, Medicaid doesn't really follow tax laws. The tax laws don't apply to Medicaid. Medicaid is going to say that's a gift. So you qualify now, you look back 5 years, we see all these $200,000 worth of gifts in $14,000 increments. They're going to say that's a gift. And now we're going to take that, we're going to divide it by 5,800, and whatever that math is, that's going to be the amount we're going to be penalized. So it can be pretty significant. And it's not that Medicaid is wrong and the IRS is right, or that Medicaid's right and the IRS is wrong. They're both right. It's just different rules. It would almost be like saying, when you're playing a sports game, can you grab the ball and run with it? Well, usually in football you can, but what about in basketball? Well, that would be traveling. That would be a violation of the rules. And so somebody goes, well, which is right? Is it football or basketball? Well, it depends on which game are you playing. So if you're dealing with taxes, then the IRS gives you the rules. If you're dealing with Medicaid, paying for a nursing home, long-term care, then you got to play by Medicaid's rules. And if you grab the basketball and run down the court and dunk it, and the referee calls you a traveling, you can't say, but in football, that would have been okay. Well, it doesn't matter about football. You're playing basketball. And so have to know which rules you're following. And this is why it's so critically important to make sure you have a team in place. If you're making transactions and transfers and gifts, make sure you understand the consequences of those. And because you've got to know, am I dealing with taxes? Am I dealing with Medicaid? Am I dealing with the VA pension? What am I dealing with? So hope that answers the question. It is fine to give away money under the tax code if you're following the code, but that has nothing to do with Alabama Medicaid. All right, is a gift to a church or a charity considered a gift under Medicaid's look back? That's that 5-year look back rule. So let me give you the technical answer, then we'll talk about practical answer. Technically, you apply today, August 14, 2015, and you qualify for Medicaid. They're going to look back 5 years and say, are there any gifts, whoever it was made to? They're going to total all those gifts up, divided by 5,800. And the answer is, that's how many months you're penalized going forward. Okay. Technically, that's what they do. Now, as a practical matter, if we're talking about your normal church contribution, then I have not seen Medicaid try and say, well, that's a gift and we're going to penalize you. So for 47 years, you've been going to this one church, and the last 10 years, you give $200 a week to church. $800 a month. Well, Medicaid might look at your income. Okay, if you have $1,000 a month in income, they might say that doesn't quite seem right. But if you have $5,000 a month in income, that's going to be different. So let's lower the number. Say it's $50 a week. So $200 a month is $2,400 a year. They generally are not going to complain about that, because you can show a pattern of every month give the same amount to church. Now, what if you start getting sick and suddenly you go from $200 a month to $2,000 a month, and your son is the minister there? It just doesn't look right. It looks like what you're doing is saying, let me get my money out of my hands into the church. Well, You're not supposed to do that. But if it's just a normal, you show this pattern every month, this is what I do, then normally you're going to be okay. With charities, it should be the same way. In my experience, they're a little less likely to catch any breaks on charities as opposed to church, particularly if the donations are not a regular type donation, or if you've got some connection with that charity. Again, your son runs this charity, your daughter's the chief fundraiser for some other charity, and you suddenly start giving a lot of money to them. Medicaid's going to look at that and say, what are you doing? Because technically any gift you make, the presumption is that was done to keep that money away from Medicaid. And so if you do, that's not illegal, as long as you tell Medicaid when you apply. It just means they're going to penalize you after they look back in time. So often a charitable donation will be considered a gift. And sometimes it's very, very obvious. Somebody says, I've got $4 million and I'm giving $500,000 to my college. That's a gift. You're not getting anything in exchange. And just a warm feeling in your heart doesn't count as a fair exchange. So hope that answers that question. Our last question is, we pay a caregiver for mother in cash, and the caregiver helps mom with activities of daily living, dressing, bathing, things like that. If we need Medicaid for a nursing home, will this cash money be considered a gift when it was really to pay for her care? Okay, so in the last question I talked about, there's kind of a technical answer, practical answer. Technically speaking, to pay a caregiver in Alabama, and I think this is actually violates federal law, the way Alabama interprets this rule. But Alabama says, got to have a written contract. It's got to be for services that have been just rendered. So in other words, we don't pay somebody now for something they did 3 years ago. It's got to be, you do the work, you get paid. You do the work, you get paid. And then they say a doctor has to sign off on that caregiving and basically say, but for this caregiving, person be in the nursing home. I don't think federal law puts that last requirement in. I think Alabama has reached a little too far with that. I understand the purpose. What they're trying to do is say, look, you can't just get rid of all your money and call it caregiving. I get that. It's got to be legitimate. So I'll give you a couple extreme examples. There's some places where supposedly this is allowable. Not sure, but definitely not in Alabama. But so somebody's rocking along and they go, oh, wow, I'm going to need a nursing home next month. And so right before that, they take $500,000 of their $502,000 net worth and they pay it to their son. And they say, I want a lifetime caregiving contract from you where the rest of my life you will take care of me, you'll come visit me in the nursing home, you'll give me love, affection, you'll call me on Saturday nights, whatever it is. Well, no, that's the obvious thing that somebody's doing there is they're trying to give away this money, but not count it as a gift. Because remember, Medicaid looks back in time 5 years. What Medicaid says is, no, you can't do that. You can't pay somebody now for some future services. You pay them for work they've actually done and not way back in time. So the question is, we've been paying in cash. What's Medicaid going to do with that? Well, if there's no caregiver contract, paying somebody in cash, which talk to your accountant, probably shouldn't be doing that, then it's very likely Medicaid's going to say that was a gift. Now, maybe you've got caregiving records. You keep a little logbook, and Susie the caregiver or Billy the caregiver, he or she comes in and they write down, well, here's how your mom's doing. Here's what I did. Well, maybe you can show, I take money out of the ATM. The next day they come, I give them the money. Maybe you can do that. It's a difficult position. So if we've already done that in the past, we've got to deal with it and try to document that so that Medicaid understands we're not playing any games here. This is legitimately for services rendered. Because That whole gift thing is exactly what it says, a gift. It's not paying for services. So if you buy a car, that's not a gift unless you're paying more than what the car is worth. So paying a caregiver or comfort keepers, visiting angels, whoever it may be, that's not a gift. So you've got to be able to document that. Now, going forward, my suggestion is, based on families coming to me, particularly in a crisis situation, is don't do that. Don't be paying people in cash and there's no written agreement. No, you need a formal written agreement. Even though I think Alabama has gone too far with this, I think that it makes a lot of sense to get the doctor involved, to say, you know what, your father would have to go to a nursing home if your cousin Andrew didn't take care of him. Okay? And so the doctor says that. Now, if it's not true, don't ask the doctor to do it. But if the doctor knows your father and knows that he can't dress himself, can't go to the bathroom, or he has dementia, somebody's got to be there, then that doctor, she'll sign that document for you. And so do everything above board, make it very clear so that Medicaid says, hey, what happened to this money? Here it is. Here's my contract. Here's, the hours that my cousin worked. Here's the rate we paid him. And that is, $12 an hour. If we got comfort keepers, that would be $17 an hour. Okay. So don't make the rate higher than what sort of the market rate is, because you're just asking for trouble with that. If anything, we like to make the rate lower, be very conservative. So Medicaid sees, okay, this is very, very legitimate. So I know today was focused mainly on Medicaid. Next week, I think we'll have a mix of questions because we have sort of a backlog of questions we haven't finished up. But definitely let us know if you have a question. You can put in a comment below. You can go to alabamaelderlawyer.com or 205-879-2447. And if you live in Alabama and you're watching this, or you have a family member in Alabama and you have questions about elder law, VA pension, what's also known as VA aid and attendance, Alabama Medicaid, feel free to let us know. And I should mention this, we also will cover in this webinar we do every week, sort of general estate planning questions, not really our focus, but to do elder law, that's up here, and estate planning is down here. So we have to understand estate planning, but most of our questions and most of our clients are more elder law based, but also special needs trust. So maybe you have a child that is disabled, you want to be able to give them money or leave them money through an inheritance, but you don't want to kick them off government benefits, or maybe been some terrible tragedy, there's a lawsuit, and the person receiving the money is on Medicaid or SSI, and how do we do that without them losing their benefits? So we talk about that as well. But if we can help you in any way, just go to alabamaelderlawyer.com or 205-879-2447. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.